A while back, there was this interview with that creep over at Facebook, Zuckerberg. And Mark Zuckerberg admitted that every time he's on his computer, he puts tape over the camera on his computer. I don't know about you. I've been doing that for years myself. But when a creep like that, because he's a creep, tells you something like this, we have to take notice. Zuckerberg is one of them, if you know what I mean. He's a part of the system. So he knows. Reminded me of a story that came out, a news story a few years back from somewhere up north here in America. It may have been Connecticut. They found out that there was a high school there that had given every child a computer, and these kids took the computers home at night. Anyway, a few months later, they find out that the teachers, some of the teachers, were able to remote control these computers to where they could turn them on and actually view through the camera the children in their bedrooms. And this has been going on for a while. It's just an example. Most of us already know this. We know it's the surveillance state. Homeland Security was the beginning of all this. It's really out of control. Anyway, just throwing that out there. Starting off with a bit of a ramble. This happens. But I want to welcome you to the show. Thank you for being here this Saturday afternoon. I don't know about you, but the weather is finally starting to relent where I live. Our summers here are brutal. And I really don't like it. I really don't like it at all. But it's going away. We have the state fair is in town now. I'm looking forward to going to the state fair. They didn't have one last year. It should be fun. Mainly for the food. They always have some interesting food there you can try, which is fun. Maybe do a haunted house. Or go see a freak show. I don't know. But it'll be a day at the fair for sure sometime this week. Weather is getting good. I'm happy about that. So, oh, by the way, many people have asked in some of the shows here in the past where Chubbs is. He's doing good. He's still around. Haven't got rid of him yet. God knows I've tried, but he keeps coming back. Can't get rid of him. But no, Chubbs is doing good. I have a new microphone I got maybe a month ago or so, a month and a half ago, and it drowns out all the background noise. So even when I see people asking about Chubbs, I'm wondering if you can't hear him because he is in the background here. And there have been some days I'm on the show where he'll be going off, but I guess you guys can't hear it. But anyway, that answers that question. Chubbs is alive and well. He's laying down sleeping at my feet right now on my foot cushion. And hopefully he stays that way because he can be quite a pill during these live shows. I'm not going to kid you. So welcome here, guys. Thank you. Thanks to the moderators as always. And as always, a huge shout out to my Patreon and PayPal supporters. Also, thanks for subscribing to the Scariest Movie Ever.tv. I hope you saw my new video I put out yesterday. And I've got another one coming out in a few days about the next 9/1+1. So I hope you'll get a chance to see that. All right, guys. Hey, let's get started because there's plenty to go through. And I believe we're starting off with a little bit of a doom break here. Walmart employee quits her job over the PA system. Check this out. This is certainly a mic drop moment.
Attention Walmart shoppers and associates. My name is Beth from Electronics. I've been working at Walmart for almost 5 years, and I can say that everyone here is overworked and underpaid. The attendant policy is bullshit. We are treated for management and customers poorly every day. Whenever we have a problem with it, we're told that we're replaceable. I'm tired of the constant gaslighting. This company treats their elderly associates like shit. To Jared, our store manager, you're a pervert. Greta and Kathy, shame on y'all for treating your associates the way you do. I hope you don't speak to your families the way you speak to us. Shout out to Cominique, Patty, Chardell, and so many more. Walmart doesn't deserve y'all. Fuck management and fuck this job. I quit.
There you have it. I don't know about you, but when I do go to Walmart, like I could see this happening at any moment with just by the way that the employees act and look and feel negative energy off a lot of these people. So yeah, how about you? Have you ever worked at Walmart? Do you have a Walmart experience from the inside you could tell us about? Here's one that I actually saved to my computer just in case it goes away. FEMA going house to house asking for potion status, Westchester County, New York. There's no real audio on this either. It's just somebody pointing their camera outside their window. It looks like. So let's check some of this out here. So there's really not a lot of audio. But it's clearly some type of suburban neighborhood. And you got these jokers out here wearing these FEMA vests with all this paperwork. So it's not like we're going to act surprised. I mean, most of us around here already know what's coming. We see what's coming. And footage like this certainly are the seeds of that. Seeing these vested FEMA employees in a suburban neighborhood. Bunch of their paperwork. What else could they be doing? This claims they're going house to house asking for the status of your potion intake. Have you taken potion? How much potion have you taken? Are you willing to take more potion? Is anybody in your family not taking potion? Oh, really? What's their address and phone number? We need to speak to them immediately. All right, so that's about it. It's a little footage. So one of the big stories this week has been Nicki Minaj. Been such a big story that the White House actually came out and addressed it. It is a circus. The whole thing's a circus. But this is interesting. Nicki Minaj fans in Atlanta protesting the CDC. They say they're trusting her advice on the potion. I've got several stories on her, so you'll see what I'm talking about here shortly.
We are here because CDC has lied to us for so long.
Nicki Minaj fans in Atlanta say they trust her medical advice about the COVID-19 vaccine.
Nicki, the queen of rap, stood up. Nicki, multiple platinum plaques, stood up and said, I'm questioning this vaccine, and we should all question this vaccine.
Fans even showed up to the Center for Disease Control headquarters on Wednesday in Durant Hills to show support for the platinum rapper's latest tweets.
This one is for the boys with the booming system, top down AC.
She claimed her cousin's friend in Trinidad had a bad reaction to the vaccine and his pride. Go ahead, what brings you here?
We are here because CDC has been lying to us.
That's pretty much that clip. Like I said, we'll get more into some of this here in a little bit, okay? There's other stories on this. Here's one. White House offers Nicki Minaj, quote, educational phone call to set her straight on appropriate thinking under the regime. I'd say that's appropriately titled, as they are acting like a tyrannical regime. Nicki Minaj continues to make headlines after urging people to prey on it and not let people bully you into getting the potion if it's not right for you. She said yesterday that she was locked out of her Twitter account after she retweeted Tucker Carlson, which apparently is not allowed. Nicki Minaj is feeling what it's like when you're a prominent entertainer and you stray from the plantation. I got a couple of her Instagrams. We'll listen to a little bit of that. But first, let's talk this out for a second. Nicki Minaj, if you didn't know, is another in a long line of what we call Illuminati sellouts or satanic sellouts to the system. They're puppets, and then they're used. It's the Good Girl Gone Bad program through Disney, or the Good Boy Gone Bad program through Disney. We've seen a lot of it start there. It's not just Disney. A lot of other artists come around and they get taken up and into this program. And Nicki Minaj is one of these people who's used as a programming tool to program more degeneracy in the youth, idiocy, and on and on. So I'm not saying she's a hero in that regard at all. But this is also where I don't just give up on all these people. Like, oh, look, they're using the Illuminati symbols. They're a piece of trash. You know, Yeah, a lot of these people are victims as well. And anytime one of these people, like in this case, Minaj, starts thinking clearly or speaking up, a couple things could be happening. Sure, maybe this is just another part of the program. Maybe they're using these people, like Kanye West, right? Classic example. Oh, he's a Christian now. No, not so fast. So sure, maybe this will, and we'll see how it plays out. This could be another part of the programming process they're using Nicki Minaj for, or she's having a moment of clarity. She did just have a baby. She's got an infant, like within the last year. That could change people big time, having children. I've seen it change friends of mine, like alter their personalities 180 degrees for the better, because now they have a life to look out for other than themselves. It's a life-changing event, experience. Maybe that has something to do with it. You know, maybe she's trying to break free from it all. We've seen some cases where it seems like some of these artists try that, like Kesha. Remember, Kesha is another one of these Illuminati tools they've used to program the public. But there were stories of her, and you don't see her anymore, but there were stories about a year ago or so of her coming out and talking about sexual abuse and all this other stuff from her handlers. And maybe that's why we don't hear anything from her anymore. Your career's probably finished. But it's always worth it for the truth, right? It's always worth it for the truth. Hopefully that's her experience. And, I don't know. It's all I remember about Kesha. So here we go. We'll play some of those clips in a little bit. The Marxist globalist thugs in the White House are not having it. This is not allowed. They want to stop her before she red pills her almost 200 million followers, 22 million on Twitter and 157 million on Instagram. The White House has offered to arrange a phone call between Nicki Minaj and one of its doctors. Multiple U.S. outlets reported after the rapper sparked widespread derision over claims a cousin's friend had become impotent after receiving the potion. Minaj on Wednesday claimed she had been invited to the White House in the wake of her viral tweets about an unnamed acquaintance in her native Trinidad, an invitation she said she accepted. But a White House official told multiple U.S. outlets Minaj had only been offered an educational phone call. All right. Got it. Now here's some of the Instagram lives. We'll listen to a little bit of what she's saying. There's part 1, part 2. They're both like 12 to 15 minutes long. So we won't listen to the whole thing, but we'll check some of this out. This is was posted 3 days ago. Nicki Minaj Instagram response.
People say the most horrific things every day. Stop me from tweeting my poll. Okay. Now, this went from being something rather innocent to me now thinking, wait a minute, there's no way. This is starting to feel, I'm putting on my foot rubbing thing, y'all. Can y'all hear my little foot rubbing thing in the back? Yeah. Papa Bear is asleep. So, y'all, oh, thank you, babe. I didn't realize I could do my poll on Instagram stories. I'll do that. But now listen to this. You guys, has something ever happened in your life and you didn't really pay it much mind, right? But then you slept on it. And then you realized there was something even more layered there. You had to unwrap it and unravel it, right? And sometimes something that was meaningless to you or not that meaningful becomes a gem when you go back and unravel it, right? A lot of times lately I've had speaking freely because my documentary is coming and I'd rather you guys be able to experience everything the way I'd like you to experience it on the documentary. I'll never go back on Twitter because now it's starting to feel a little scary. I remember when I was a little girl, and I would be taken to church, and sometimes the people in church would tell us, be happy that you're able to praise God freely, because some people in so many countries in the world can't praise the God they'd like to praise freely. They have to hide the Bibles if they are a Christian in some countries, right? And that always motivated me to want to be in church and enjoy church, because I was like, wow, some people don't get this luxury.
It's on the video. There you go.
And what's happening is that we used to talk about 50 years ago and 30 years ago and 20 years ago. We have become that place that that you can't speak. You can't speak for the fear of the mob attacking you. If that doesn't give you chills up and down your fucking spine, this is scary.
Welcome to our world.
You should be able to ask questions about anything you're putting inside your body. We ask a bunch of questions about the most simple thing. Oh, bitch, how that glue work? Do that glue really keep the wig down for how many hours? Oh, because if I go in the pool and if I sweat it off, and bitch, how that? But you can't just innocently ask a question about something going in your body.
Okay, so we'll do part 2. That was about 5 minutes.
Concerned
of part
about
1.
people becoming.
Here's some of part 2.
Let me ask y'all something. In the 10, 12, 13 years, how many ever years you guys have known of me, do y'all think that I would go on the internet and lie about being invited to the fucking White House? Like, what? Do you guys see what is happening right now? Oh my goodness. If y'all don't see, it's not even surprising to me that they had to use one of us. Like I said, the first time they used one of us, she was the first person that was used. Now they just use this man to come out and put this thing out saying that I wasn't invited to the White House. Do y'all think I would lie about being like, what? Like what? So tomorrow when I do a call with my management and my publicist, who I follow both of them. You can go follow Sal and from Sal X Co and follow Joe, my publicist who works with Republic Records. They were on the phone call. And you know what the request was? We'd like to offer Nicki an invitation to come to the White House to speak with 2 people, the 2 names. What is that man's name? Dr. Fauci, and with the Surgeon General.
Wow, Fartsy.
And
the esteemed Dr.
And
Fartsy.
do you know what I said? I said, well, I would rather not have to travel. Can we do something like a live? And they said that they're open to me choosing a platform to do a live, but they have never taken that off the table for me to come to the White House. And so I said I would like to do the other question is, they asked me would I like to do a private live or I'm sorry, a private conversation or a public live. And I said it would not feel genuine if it was something that I discussed with them only privately, because then it would come off disingenuous to my fans, because it would sound like I was kind of like selling them the vaccine, and everyone agreed. So at around 5-6 o'clock, about 3 hours ago, they got back on the phone with my management and my publicist and said, they weren't too happy about me letting people know that I was going there, etc. Anyway, but do you guys think that I would make that up? So now this man tried to come on Twitter to try to make a fucking fool out of me. Sweetheart, are you out of your fucking mind? I'm not one of those people that y'all are going to be able to do this with, sweetheart. Okay? See, the minute you guys started going this hard is when this seemed strange to me. Like, and I'm not talking about the representative that Joe and Sal spoke to today. I'm talking about just the Democratic Party in general, and so many people jumping at the chance to, okay, well, we can't make fun of the actual story anymore and talk about testicles and balls till they drop dead and make that a joke. So now we have to attack her personally. I want you guys to see what is happening.
All right, man. So this is over on a YouTube channel called King Jawan, Jawaun. If you want to hear all of it, Nicki Minaj Instagram 9/15/21 Part 2. You can just hear some more of her response to all this. So, but isn't it interesting, right? It's like, again, anybody involved with these satanic groups doing their programming and their work in the shadows and everything else and poisoning, they eventually all eat themselves. This is a wicked hive mind, constantly throwing each other under the bus or destroying each other to change the narrative. And these are some examples of that. Its own hive mind turning against its players or people they've used, or possibly they've used up already, or so they thought. She seems like somebody not to be screwed with. She does have a lot of clout when it comes to online followers, subscribers, and that's a big deal these days. And we've seen it's such a big deal that Instagram influencers in many cases are more popular now than, quote, Hollywood stars. Moving on. Let's see what else we got up in here. This is from Timcast on YouTube. Nicki Minaj says we're becoming like communist China, tells people to wake up. Let's hear a little bit of what he says.
Y'all have become so scary to witness, questioning people, becoming, quote, mad at people who are asking questions about something they are putting inside their effing body. Do you not hear how effing dumb that sounds? I see why it was so easy for Jim Jones. Wow. Oh, man. I would like to buy Miss Minaj a beer for that one. Amazing. Jim Jones was a guy who made everybody drink the Kool-Aid, remember? And they just said, whatever. Now, to be fair, no one suspects the Kool-Aid's poisoned. But if you got to go to a doctor and they're going to give you something in your body to change your body, that is your decision. My body, my choice. Hey, guess what? I'm pro-choice as well. Mostly for this reason. I abhor abortion in almost every circumstance. I see countries like Iceland, they just basically want to eliminate people with Down syndrome. I think people with Down syndrome are valuable human beings. And I don't like it. But I just cannot have a bureaucrat or an activist or a politician get in between me and my doctor. I just can't do it. And I understand people say things like, there's two people involved in the equation with that stuff. And I'm like, I hear you. I do. I hard moral questions, man. get away from me segment from Stephen Colbert, they're going to believe it's true. See, what happens is Colbert will fall back on, it was a joke, you're not supposed to take it seriously, but the basis of the joke is presumed to be true, and then there's the joke. So in this instance, they come out and say, she said swollen balls as why she won't get vaccinated. And they show CNN saying it, which people assume is a real, serious clip and true, and they're laughing. And then they play this fake music video of Nicki Minaj saying, you know, giant oranges or whatever in your pants. And people are going to be like, yeah, it was true. It's not true. It was not true. She didn't say that. So here we go. Late Night takes lots of jabs at Nicki Minaj. The rapper's tweets about her cousin's friend who...
Of course, these Freemason sellouts do. All these late night talk show hosts.
That had swollen balls after taking the vaccine instead of a flood of commentary. Sure. We got this one now. Tori Cooper is an anchor reporter. So she, I don't know where she works. She says, Nicki Minaj told the truth to me. Fauci lied to me. Protesters are approaching cars leaving the CDC governor saying Fauci lied. And I'll tell you something. These are black people doing this. The idea that it's a far-right white supremacist thing. You see what Hassan tries saying, well, Tucker Carlson's a white supremacist. What does that have to do with anything? And she called him out saying, y'all trying to change the conversation to be about racism when it's about whether or not you should be forced to put something in your body. There's also a video, apparently, right-wing and Black Lives Matter, along with some right-wing groups like Trump supporters, were marching against the vaccine mandates.
All right, we'll stop there. Just threw a little bit of him in there if you want to see Tim Cast sometime. I've watched him for a long time. Definitely not on the same page with him on a lot of things. I don't know if he's just not spiritually awake to what's going on or if he's some form of controlled opposition. Not saying he is. You know, he's got a part of the picture, but he's not a big picture person, in my opinion. But that's just me. Okay, moving on. I still like to watch him, though. Video shot from inside a pickup truck in Del Rio, Texas, shows the disaster the illegal invasion really is. Lots of stragglers. Remember that video from last week of the children that were all super tired on the border? People just casually walking into America. Here we go. Look at this. Wow. There you go. Del Rio, Texas. This was really gross. This happened in my home state. I'm not proud of this. Hopefully the audio is okay. It's a little low. Let's see if you can hear it.
Away after a woman's
percent on the 90.
Yeah, it's not on my end. It's on the clip. This happens on VidMax and on BitChute sometimes. I'll just read. An Oklahoma man allegedly went number 2 in a grocery store freezer Sunday night, and a woman who was shopping accidentally put her hand in it while reaching for groceries. The lady said, I pick up a bag of pizza rolls, and there's literally Dookie on there. Yeah. Okay, I think we get it. I think you get the gist of that story. The world's angriest woman Lyft driver with blow-up doll in passenger seat gives this customer a ride from hell. Yeah, this is nuts. This looks like if Saturday Night Live was still concerned with being funny, like this could probably be a skit. Let's check this out.
You know, I'm just trying to ask him to go to the speed limit is all.
I'm saying I'm gonna go.
Oh.
He asked her to go the speed limit. I read earlier below this, but apparently this lady was driving cuckoo, so this guy just asked her to go the speed limit, and then this happens.
You know, I'm just trying to ask him to go to the speed limit is all.
I'm saying I'm gonna go.
Oh. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, you're gonna have to open that trunk. I'm not going anywhere until you open that trunk. Get out. Nope. You're gonna have to get my bag out of your car. I just want my bag, man. That's all I want was my bag. Thank you. Me too. That just happened to me.
What a wonderful young lady. Moving on. Sky News, New World Order. More and more, they're just putting it right out there, and they're using this terminology. Here's another example.
In areas like cyber, artificial intelligence, and quantum computing. It all sounds like science fiction, but a race is going on.
It's another one that has super low audio. This one, excuse me, this one's actually on YouTube, so sorry you can't really hear it. I can't really hear it, so I know you can't. But anyway, it happened. Sky News says New World Order. And that's probably like the fourth example I've seen in a month. Gaylord school official brought armed officers when ordering students to mask up or else. A Gaylord Community Schools official brought 2 armed sheriff's deputies into a school where he confronted high school students who were refusing to comply with the district's face mask mandate. The armed officers stood behind the school official as he threatened the students with immediate suspension. A video of the incident was posted on, of course, September 11th. It shows a student sitting in what appears to be a school cafeteria. Yeah, this is kind of, the seeds were planted on on September 11th, for a lot of the tyranny we're seeing now. It shows a student sitting in what appears to be a school cafeteria asking that the deputies leave, which did not happen. As of September 13th, the video has been shared 9,000 times. Okay. I guess we don't get to see the video. Let's see. Guess that's it. School choice could reduce controversy over public schools' explicit sex ed pictures. It's from September 13th. More of the gender identity nonsense, it looks like. Of course, confusing the kids in the little indoctrination centers. Patriot, it says, roasts elites outside the Met Gala. You know, the Met Gala, the tickets go for like $35,000. I mean, this is the elite showing off. It always is. One of my favorite YouTube channels, he no longer uploads, The Black Child. I think this channel is called Black Child Reloaded, but he hadn't loaded new videos there in years, a couple of years. Still love him though. Just loved his videos, man. He did a lot of videos through the years on the Met Gala himself. So here's some people outside the Met Gala, and this is what they have to say.
Black and brown people are on the brink of houselessness.
Yeah.
We cannot go back to normal. Where was your rage last year? $35,000 for a fucking ticket to show your fucking growth while our people are still dying. Our people are still dying. Our people are still being murdered. And there are millions of dollars going to this museum. We demand free housing. We demand all political prisoners to be free.
Oh.
We demand justice for our people.
Don't lock us up in here. What the fuck are you doing, bro? You gonna chase me up on the block? Get out of here, bro.
Get out.
There's that. Sounds like they were some BL plus M type folks, perhaps. Canada adopts Chinese social credit system.
China seems to be preparing for war, and several Western nations are allying with them, including Canada, who is now officially rolling out the Chinese social credit score for Canadian businesses. China has recently banned English exams, limited video game use, and erased several pop stars from history. In an attempt to filter out Western culture, China is cracking down on effeminate men while assembling thousands of ships and millions of troops for war with Taiwan. Just last year, half of the CCP's nuclear scientists mysteriously quit on the same day for personal reasons. And last month, the main news outlet for the CCP published an article blaming the US for biological warfare, blaming capitalism for social degeneracy, and calling for a new communist revolution. The CCP is preparing for war, and several world leaders are working with them. Perhaps this is what the dozens of ghost cities in China are for. All now empty, ready to house hundreds of thousands of people, including a city that looks like France. Is this for Macron and his fellow traitors to someday feel at home? Maybe. But Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is all in with the communist Chinese. And his government has announced on a government website the Chinese social credit score system, how businesses can prepare. It outlines the penalties that Canadians have to look forward to, which include public blaming and shaming, and being blacklisted. The CCP is coming to Canada. With Trudeau, Canada has become the most willing subject of the CCP, with Australia in second place and the rest of the Western world fighting for third. Who will be left to stand up for freedom? For Infowars.com, this is Greg Reese.
Yep. Eyes on Taiwan, guys.
Hey, TikTok. My name is Anne, and
this is one I showed on my last Uncensored show. It's mainly meant for the Uncensored, so I'll be playing this because it's very important. I'm probably going to include this in a video as well. So sorry, guys. I got to play it cool. That's how I've been able to do the show here lately, is abiding by the rules, which we don't like to do. But what you going to do, man? You got to navigate the system as it is. So in a lot of ways, a lot of us have to hide online in plain sight, just like they've been doing to us for years through television and logos, everything else. Am I right? Watch 351,000 yes votes disappear from totals in the Newsom recall election live on CNN. And this is one we saw coming. We already knew. Sorry, California. Of course, I would love to see Elder have gotten in there for you guys. But the system being what it is, let's watch this.
Million votes, 2.3 million votes as of right now. Now, there's still 48% of the votes have come in, John Kay. But as of right now, if I were Governor Newsom, I would be feeling
2.25.
Number one, you're going to complete your term. And number two, Governor Newsom made this campaign in the end about Larry Elder, but also about the comparison, California versus, say, Florida and Texas on COVID. If your Keep Newsom number stays anywhere close to that, other governors going to
1.874. Where did they go?
California to continue those policies, which will be a national debate heading into the
874. Where did they go?
Newsom number stays anywhere close to that.
But, you know, we saw that during the Orange Man election in, I think it was 6 different states. Same anomaly. So there you have it, right? There you goes. Australia has gone full 1984. Let's see if he's using the naughty words we're not supposed to use. I'm not sure about this one. Let's see.
Workers who aren't vaccinated won't be at work.
Yeah, he's using the naughty words. So this will be one for my Uncensored, which will be on Monday, 2 in the afternoon. Check my website tomorrow, usually in the evening, and I'll have it posted, the link, if you want to watch live. And then after it's live, I upload it back to the website right there on that link. So check that out. Pro Gavin Newsom recall protester is attacked by a man. Check this out. The demons came out.
On a pedestrian walkway hovering above the 101 freeway in San Rafael, the recall election hit a fever pitch Sunday afternoon. This group of pro-recall demonstrators say they were making their voices heard when suddenly a man approached them holding a knife.
And he was slashing our signs. And he slashed one sign completely down. It's completely torn and destroyed.
Teef Gibbs is a member of the group. While she didn't witness the event herself, she spoke to ABC7 on behalf of others who did. Gibbs says after the man started destroying the signs, one of the demonstrators confronted him, trying to get him to stop.
The assailant came towards him and pushed him back and started punching him.
Following the attack, the knife-wielding man fled on foot, leaving his victim to be transported to the hospital, where another group member says he was diagnosed with a fractured skull and broken jaw. While the incident has angered the rally-goers, Gibbs says the attack is nothing new.
That we're in a situation here where freedom of speech is in danger.
Many here say it's just another example of the kind of anger that's been directed at pro-recall demonstrators, and point to a separate incident last week where a woman threw an egg at leading GOP contender Larry Elder.
Because we don't do that kind of stuff. We don't attack.
And even right there, lies of omission. That's how it's how they work. It's how mainstream media works. It wasn't just a woman threw an egg. It was a woman wearing a gorilla mask. It was obviously something racist, but that doesn't play into the narrative of the mainstream that people on the left side could be a racist. Of course, they're usually the worst in reality.
Has angered the rally-goers, Gibbs says the attack is nothing new.
That we're in a situation here where freedom of speech is in danger.
Many here say it's just another example of the kind of anger that's been directed at pro-recall demonstrators, and point to a separate incident last week where a woman threw an egg at leading GOP contender Larry Elder.
Because we don't do that kind of stuff. We don't attack people who we disagree with. That side attacks the people they disagree with. We don't do that. We allow for free speech. We want free speech.
As for the suspect, San Rafael police say he potentially faces charges of assault with a deadly weapon, though he has not yet been caught.
Currently, we're following all leads to try and track down our suspect and identify who our suspect is.
But as far as Gibbs is concerned, Sunday's events won't slow her down.
I will not be bullied by anti-recall people, by the No on Recall group.
All right. Stand firm, my lady. Child abuse. American Airlines kicks mother and her asthmatic toddler off of the flight because the child couldn't breathe in a mask. She wrote here that the pilot said on the intercom, "Sorry for the delay, but we're dealing with a non-compliant traveler." As you can clearly see, this isn't an infant we're dealing with here. Toddler, I mean.
You won't even have it near his face. Wait,
Wow, look at that. Look at the three big police officers over here waiting on the little toddler to get off the plane. Watch out. Watch out. Keep an eye on it. It's dangerous. A billboard showing Biden dressed as a terrorist with the slogan, "Make the Taliban great again."
Former State Senator Scott Wagner was no stranger to controversy when he was at the state capitol, and that's not changing now that he's back in the private sector. The Republican from York County told ABC 27 he's putting up 15 more billboards across the state showing Joe Biden and the caption, "Making the Taliban Great Again." Wagner is a vocal Trump supporter.
Listen, this is a real big deal that's going down in Afghanistan. I think I've made my point. And I'm you know me. I'm gonna say what's on my mind, and this is what's on my mind, and now it's on a billboard.
Wagner says there are 15 billboards up now, and with those others on the way, he spent about $15,000 on them all.
Not even trying to be funny, but let's hope we don't see news within the next month or so of this gentleman dying under mysterious circumstances, or some kind of a strange suicide type situation. News anchor slips up and shows Obama's still in control. This is from April 15th, 2018.
10 o'clock Eastern Time with about a 5-minute address by President Obama. Here's a portion of that.
The purpose of our actions tonight is to establish a strong...
Anyway, I think you probably see that. The audio's a little low, of course, on that one too, but it says it's all a show. Trump, the 7th king, soon to be replaced by Obama, the 6th king of revelation. This was on Steve Fletcher 222. I think I mainly wanted to share this playlist if you're interested. I'd never heard of him. I just found him this past week, and he seems to be a watchman as well in his own right. And he's got a whole playlist on Obama. If you want to see some of that sometime, it's Obama anti, and then, Christ behind it. That right there is one of those words that YouTube doesn't like, by the way. Do you guys remember a few years ago when all this weird censorship and shadow banning really started? It was a few years back. And somebody through a hack had found at the time all the words that were being targeted by the algorithm, and it was released. And I showed that on a show way back then. So it's been over the last few years or so. But one of the words was anti with the word Christ behind it. They don't like that word. It's weird. I wonder why. Here's another one from Steve Fletcher 222. I better get started. Obama joking about FLEMA camps.
You are running out of time. It is,
I'm
to
not
some
running.
extent.
Can I be clear about that?
Office, definitely
Okay,
running for office. But you don't have that much time to take away Americans' guns, declare martial law, and put hardworking Americans in FEMA camps. If you're going to do that, you better get started. You better get started. You better get started. You better get started.
You think I'm joking?
You better get started. You better get started.
Just this week, Michelle Bachmann actually predicted that I would bring about the biblical end of days. Now that's a legacy. That's big. I mean, Lincoln, Washington, they didn't do that. I was not born in a manger. I was actually born on Krypton and sent here by my father, Jor-El, to save the planet Earth.
You don't have that much time to take away Americans' guns, declare martial law, and put hardworking Americans in FEMA camps. If you're going to do that, you better get started. You better get started.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Steve.
Here's an interesting supernatural one I found over here on his channel as well, from September 2019. Trumpet sounds in Israel. Fig tree warning for October 1st, Feast of Trumpets. But there's some weird sky stuff happening along with these trumpet sounds. It's pretty wild. Check this out. Most of you probably remember, but it started maybe 6-7 years ago. These strange trumpet sounds being heard in the skies. and it was all over the world. And then, just like everything that's truly strange that's happening out there, there always has to be some kind of controlled opposition. But then for a while, they made a Godzilla. There was a Godzilla movie coming out. So somebody started taking the Godzilla roar sound and putting it over a lot of these videos. So that kind of really muddied the waters. And then I'd see people, oh no, that's not real. That's the Godzilla movie. It's like, no, man, this was happening before the Godzilla movie. Okay, anyway. So let's check this out.
So what was most amazing about this, beyond just the supernatural sign in the heavens and the sounds of the trumpets, is the fact that, number one, it was over Israel, and number two, it was October 1st, 2016. October 1st, 2016. We have shared about the parable of the fig tree. Now, what is very interesting is that the fig tree is a specific sign for Israel. So these trumpets over Israel, October 1st, 2016, and then we look at the parable of the fig tree, and it says, then he told this parable. A man had a fig tree growing in his vineyard, and he went to look for fruit on it, but did not find any. So he said to the man who took care of the vineyard, for 3 years now, I've been coming to look for fruit on this fig tree and haven't found any. Cut it down. Why should it use up the soil? So the parable of the fig tree goes on to talk about an intercession that takes place in another delay or another year that is added. But at this stage of the game, we really have no idea if there could be any more delays.
I'll stop there. It goes on. I didn't mean to stop it right there. Oh, 333. Oh, yeah. Anyway, if you want to go check that out, Steve Fletcher 222, Trumpet Sounds in Israel, Fig Tree Warning for October 1st, Feast of Trumpets. And you'll find all of his videos over there on his channel. So check it out if you like. This one is really interesting. I saw a lot of people putting this one out there. She clearly says marked people. Oh, there you go. Look at that. Steve Fletcher again. It's from September 15th. So just a few days ago. But I've seen this other places as well. This one's been making the rounds. She's talking about the potion people.
Morning, everybody. This is Steve Fletcher with a trumpet for my people. I just want to share this clip with you. This is not going to come across very clear on my phone, but I have activated closed caption for this clip, and Jen Psaki from the White House calls vaccinated people marked to the original video. Here you will see the people.
To protect marked people and save more lives. I will send hospitalizations to protect marked people and save more lives. I will send sicknesses through just hospitalizations to protect marked people and save more lives. I will sicknesses through just hospitalizations to protect marked people and save more lives. Hospitalizations to protect marked people and save more lives. I will say.
All right. I'll try to find a much clearer version of that sometime, and I'm sure I'll probably put that into some kind of a video as well. Senator demands to know who cuts off Biden's mic. We need to know who's in charge.
Look, we've all seen this. We saw it as recently as yesterday. Somebody in the White House has authority to press the button and stop the president, cut off the president's speaking ability and sound. Who is that person?
I think anyone who knows the president, including members of this committee, knows that he speaks very clearly and very deliberately for himself.
Yeah.
No one else does.
Well, are you saying that there is no one in the White House that can cut him off? Because yesterday that happened, and it's happened a number of times before that. It's been widely reported that somebody has the ability to push the button and cut off his sound and stop him from speaking. Who is that person?
There is no such person. Again, the president speaks for himself, makes all of the strategic decisions, informed by the best advice that he can get from the people around him.
So are you unaware that this is actually happening? Because it happened yesterday at the Interagency Fire Center. It was widely reported. The media's reported on it, and it's not the first time it's happened. It's happened several times. Are you telling this committee that this does not happen, that there's no one in the White House who pushes the button and cuts him off in mid-sentence?
That's correct.
Sentence was cut off in mid-sentence.
No.
Are you saying that didn't happen?
Senator, I really don't know what you're referring to. All I can.
Wow. They just lie. That's all they do. They just lie. All the time. All the time. Just lie. Mayor of Hudson threatens to arrest school board members. Okay, there's a follow-up to this. I think I showed you guys this last week. We'll watch this again real quick. This is one of those school boards that was allowing really dirty pornographic type stuff into the schools for the little kids to be reading. One of many.
Earl, members of the board, my name is Craig Schubert. I'm the mayor of this city. It has come to my attention that your educators are distributing essentially what is child pornography in the classroom. I've spoken to a judge this evening. She's already confirmed that. So I'm going to give you a simple choice. You either choose to resign from this Board of Education, or you will be charged. Thank you.
Okay, I'll show you the follow-up when we get to it. It's in here somewhere. This one I showed last week on my Uncensored. I think we can probably show some here. Let's check it out. But this was a pizza place in Brooklyn, New York. And they say the world needs to see the ugly face of segregation. Juliana's Pizza. You, my friends, need to wake up. I told you I'd expose your business for its participation in modern-day segregation. And it has to do with the potion. You know, you're not allowed if you don't have proof of potion.
Are you refusing service? So you're going to enforce segregation, and you telling me we're not leaving? Well, I'm not leaving. You guys can leave. I'm not leaving. We just marched for this. Everybody in here is okay with that? Everybody's in here okay with setting segregation in society? Everybody's okay with that? Oh, we don't have our vaccine card, so now the kids can't eat. We can't eat. You guys are okay with that? This is the America you want to live in? Is this the America you want to live in? No, fuck you. You see, you're not American. That's why you need to get the fuck out of here if you're not American. All right? Get the fuck out of here. Okay? This is America, and in America, everybody can eat. Everybody can eat in America, all right? This is not segregation.
They're telling us that we can't eat here, but yet they didn't ask.
This is America. You need to wake up. This is the kind of country you want to live in? You want to live in this type of country? Wow. Everybody's okay with this?
And they didn't ask other people for their vaccination card. Good for you, but some people over here were not.
No, that's not the point. That's not the point. That's not the point.
There's just a little bit of that. That's on Instagram. I'm not sure. Let's see. Saving Sovereign TY. They're all pedos. Singer Alanis Morissette says multiple men had bang bang with her when she was just 15 years old. This is over on the Daily Wire. In a new documentary released this week, Alanis Morissette alleges that multiple men had sex with her when she was just 15. The artist who had a hit 1995 debut album with Jagged Little Pill makes the disturbing claim in a film titled Jagged that premiered on Monday at the Toronto Film Festival. She was a pop star in Canada in her youth, appearing on the children's TV sketch comedy You Can't Do That on Television. Do you guys remember that show? Man, I do. I watched that when I was a kid. I was younger. For 5 episodes when she was in junior high school before she made it big. About 3/4 of the way through the movie, Morissette broaches the topic of sexual abuse during her earliest years of fame. I'm going to need some help because I never talk about this, she begins. It took me years in therapy to even admit that there had been any kind of victimization on my part. I'd always say I was consenting, and then I'd be reminded, like, hey, you were 15, you're not consenting at 15. Now I'm like, oh yeah, they're all pedos. It's all statutory rape. Who she's referring to remains unclear. She does not name any of the alleged abusers. If you want to read the whole thing, that's on Daily Wire. I'm not sure what kind of exercise this is, but there's something strange going on here. Yeah, this is podcast won't be able to see this, but for those watching, should be able to make out there's something's wrong here. Not sure what it is. Something is wrong here. I know, that's all. I'm not going to watch anymore. Something's off there. Not sure what it is. Trashy award goes to this woman talking about how she spreads her STDs. Yeah, this is gross, but sometimes I think it's just a good reminder that there are truly monsters among us.
Okay. So I'm here to make a few confessions.
Well, good thing is the audio is super low on that, so you can't really hear it, but we get the idea from the headline. This is one of those websites I just found this past week and just went through and found clips. It's called Fools, Boneheads, and Jackasses.com. So no wonder we're seeing the kind of clips we're seeing. But this one, I wouldn't agree with the title. It says another Karen or another crazy Karen trying to get out of wearing a mask. And I get what she's doing, and I think it's good. So I don't think this is a Karen, but we've talked about the Karen thing before. That itself is its own kind of psyop.
Yeah, it says face mask cover your cloth. Read CDC. It says a cloth covering over your nose and your mouth. This is my cloth covering over my nose and my mouth.
I like it.
No, it's not. There is no adequacy in a face mask. There is absolutely none.
Love it. But again, it goes back to the Karen thing, and it's one of those things. It's a way to shape society. It's a way to shape thinking. It's social conditioning to where now many women will be afraid to say stand up for something that's right, fight back against having to do potion or something like that for fear of being the Karen. Oh my gosh, let's film her. Look at the Karen going crazy. Sheesh, this girl's mom told her to stop wearing her mask or else. So check this out.
Because you're not supposed to have it on. It is not good for you.
Outside? It's
Yes.
not good for me?
Yes, it is not.
It's a mask, Mom.
It's a mask, and it's not good for you to have a mask on.
We're in public.
You know what? Take the mask off.
Why?
Because I said.
Why?
You best do it, or you're going to get in trouble. Now take it off.
In trouble.
Take off the mask.
I love that. It's such a mom thing to say. Take it off or you're going to get in trouble. Love it. But the mom, to me, in this case, was being reasonable. Take off that dumb mask. That's how I feel. You know, there's people out here where I live. You're not forced to wear it right now. And a lot of them choose to. And it's just a shame. And I don't ever want to be that guy because I don't like a lot of attention. So I'm not going to just go up to them and pull it off or say something. But there's that side of me, you know, I see it in my head. I just don't put it into action. Where you just want to say, man, take that dumb thing off. Quit it. But, you know, it's another kind of sign of the division. And it's really a sign of those who are signing off on the system, essentially becoming slaves.
Used to worry about the fucking store owner following you around. Motherfucking robots is following me around now. It's fucking ridiculous. This is fucking ridiculous. See him? I'm in the aisle doing my thing, and this motherfucking robot is following me the fuck around. Like, fucking robots harassing me. Look. It's fucking ridiculous. Every fucking aisle I go down, this motherfucker's right here. Yo, this shit is really on some real bullshit. Has anybody ever seen this before? You see what I'm saying? It's following me. This is crazy. Is it gonna? It's following me.
Caution, hazard detected.
Caution, hazard detected. This is ridiculous.
Peligro detectado.
And it speaks different languages. This is ridiculous, man. This is profile.
Weird. Hillary Clinton calls for a new war on terror targeting Trump supporters. Says they are threatening our democracy. Look at this picture of her. Of it. Whatever that is. Something's weird there. Something's always weird there with her. Remember when she collapsed as the Secret Service was trying to throw her into the van? And you could even hear something metal falling off. Probably some kind of a brace she had in her legs. Like barely stitched together. Those eyes. Something's up with those eyes. And of course, she said all that on the anniversary of the Revelation 9/11. Norm Macdonald, if you didn't know, has died after a long and private battle with cancer. The influential comedian and former SNL Weekend Update anchor was 61. It's one of the few comedians I would still keep up with. He did a podcast for a while. I thought it was great. He's genuinely just a funny person, just the way he is. Just as you can tell, he's just being himself, and he's just quirky and a little odd. And I always liked him. Here's this is actually from his channel. I'm Not Norm. And this is from November 2019. It's a little compilation they did called Norm Macdonald Loses His Sponsors. And I thought it'd be nice just to play a little bit of this, just in memory of a true comedy legend, I guess, comedy great, in my opinion. He's one of the oddballs. Definitely strange, but I liked him. There's not many comedians out there anymore that I like or follow myself. I like a lot of these old school guys. He was one of them. Kevin Nealon, too. I like him. Anyway, that's Kevin Nealon right there. We'll watch some of this. Rest in peace there, Norm Macdonald.
We also have to take a break.
Are you kidding me?
It says it right on the monitor.
We have no sponsors.
Well, we do have a sponsor, right?
You know what's amazing that I didn't know?
We have no sponsors.
I want you to. This is about your aunt.
My aunt?
Is she fucking dead?
Yes.
You don't have a living aunt?
Maybe.
Crazy not to have high quality razors sent to your house every day. 100% made in America. Cast iron grilling grates.
Iron. You don't pronounce it iron.
That's what everybody tells me.
It's the iron horse. Like Lou Gehrig was the iron horse of baseball.
Yes.
The word IRON. It should be iron.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, even though I do like a lot of Norm Macdonald, that he is a little bit foul with the language sometimes. So a little bit late on the language alert. Sometimes I forget how bad he gets. He does get pretty bad sometimes. I know. But then sometimes he can be very funny. You know?
That's what makes English the world's toughest languge.
Yeah.
You know, right? Sure.
It is the
Because
toughest language. To me,
learn.
it's the easiest. Man, great. Great. Have you heard of the man grace?
Yes, I have.
You have?
Yeah.
Where'd you hear about it?
On Adam Carolla's podcast.
Wow. Yeah. How about that? You have a father? Man grade is the perfect gift for this Father's Day. Is he alive?
Yeah.
100% made in America. If he was dead, it would have been a really bad moment in the commercial. Your dad's alive?
No.
Fuck. God damn it. I'm sorry about your dad.
That's fine.
Your father's dead.
And yes, I really hate that word too. And he does use it sometimes. So.
But you have children. You are a father.
Yes, and I'm not dead.
Yes.
Maybe you'll give me one. And
I'll give you one. Is your mom still alive?
My mom?
Yeah.
No, she's dead.
Jesus Christ. Is any of your relatives fucking alive? All
right, I'll stop there. It's getting really bad. Sorry. I guess in my own mind, I haven't watched a lot of his stuff in a while. He hadn't really put up a whole lot of new stuff. He stopped his podcast a while back. But yeah, that's a little much. I definitely don't like the JC. So sorry, Norm, that's a bummer on you. Don't like that. And it's not a good sign either, you know, with all joking aside. He just lost his life. So we don't know what it was like behind closed doors, hoping that he made amends, found Christ, and found his way back. Let's hope. But using that kind of language, not a good sign from 2019. Just saying. It's not. The GD either. Ugh. Atheist addict sees eternity and is healed instantly. Let's check. This is from Prioritize Your Life. It's another one of those channels I just found this past week. I'm on my main channel while I'm showing you this, which is weird. I thought I'd switched it over, but on my KJ's What Happened, I'm subbed to a lot of these channels. But if you want to check it out, Prioritize Your Life. And let's watch some of this here.
Down on my knees, but I'm going to verify that all these people that see the other side, they're actually telling the truth. And I want to find out if there's somebody else out there that's had this happen.
I jumped ahead because he talks a lot about his own life in the beginning, and it's for like 15, maybe 20 minutes, which it's all interesting. You know, I mean, I'd recommend checking the whole thing out. Atheist addict sees eternity and is healed instantly. I wanted to share this, though, because it's a really unique one compared to most. This was during the daytime, and he didn't have a near-death experience to see all this. So it's really unique and interesting. Check this out. It happened to him years ago when he was younger.
In the middle of the day without dying. So I know far enough into my world yet to have you actually be open enough to accept this. But I'm just going to put it out here. I just felt hands on my head, like this, and they were. This really happened, and I don't know how to explain it. I've heard other near-death experience people explain it, and I hear the doctors will say, or those smart people, the neuroscientists can say when you die, you release these chemicals, and that's what they see the tunnel. And I'm like this. I didn't see a tunnel. Okay. What happened to me is I knelt down on my knees, but I'm going to verify that all these people that see the other side, they're actually telling the truth. And I want to find out if there's somebody else out there that's had this happen in the middle of the day without dying. So I knelt down, normal, and all I did is offered a prayer. And I would say my state of mind, so that if you want to recreate this, because I don't think I'm special. I told this to my kids. I think that anybody can have an experience like this. I was at the end of the sidewalk of my life at the moment, and I was just like There was nowhere more for me to go. No drug counselors, no rehabs, no jail, or no, amount of remorse for taking money from my father or stealing from people or drug dealing. And no amount of remorse for some of the crap I was doing was enough to stop this train. So I was at the end of this sidewalk, and that's kind of what I see it in my mind. I just down on my knees, and I'm like, I was on a dirt road, but metaphorically, the sidewalk. And I was just there, and I submitted. I just said, I don't know if anything's there. I don't know.
By the way, he'd been a heroin addict like his whole life up to this point, as a young adult, and gotten into tons of trouble. Cost his father around $30,000. Just, he's got a really incredible story, like I said, but it goes on and on and on. So just to catch you up a little bit on who he was, he's walking, he was, strung out, had lost everything, was out in a field walking down a dirt road, and he shows the picture of it, and just knelt down, and then this is what happened.
And I knew that if there was something there, that anybody on the other side, if there was another side, knew I didn't know. And I'm like, I don't know. I have nothing to hide. If you're there, I need help. I need you to take this from me, because I don't know how to do this. Nothing is stopping this addiction, and I don't know how to get through it. And at that moment, it was amazing. And I only hesitate and look down, because sometimes when I tell this, it's people check out. I don't know if I brought you far enough into my world yet to have you actually be open enough to accept this, but I'm just gonna put it out here. I just felt hands on my head, like this, and they were behind me. And the second those hands hit my head, it wasn't like, who's there? It was like everything just. It was like being, if you were immersed in your favorite video game, like Call of Duty or Halo or something, and you actually believed you were the character, and you had the trauma of watching your friends get blown up next to you in the video game, and then all of a sudden you're like shaking, you're like, I can't do this anymore, I can't do this. All of a sudden you check out, and you're you again, and you're in your room, like, oh, it's this, oh, I'm okay, and there's all this familiarity. You're like, oh, I'm in my house, I'm home. It was like that. Everything, the world, it was all still there, still kneeling on the road, but it was just like, I knew him, and I'd known him forever. And I was immediately talking to them, just like I'm talking right now, like with your mind. And it was just like, but it was weird. I was just like, oh, I'm so glad holy cow, Earth is, this is so, one of my first thoughts was like, I was trying to kill myself about a year earlier. I was trying to take my life. I'd been that low at some point that I was like trying to kill myself. And I was like, everything came back, and I remembered everything that, like, how Earth was, and that I was in Earth, and I'd been at home, and I'd been in heaven. Was like, we call it heaven, but it's his home. And I was like, wow, I really couldn't see it. It's like right here. And wherever you're sitting watching this, it is literally like right here. Like, it's all around you. They're like right here. It's not like scary ghost stories. It's like you're the one that's in the immersed into Earth experience and all this life stuff, and that's a gift. It's a gift that you don't get to know. It's a gift that I was detached, and so I had all this kind of sensation of like going, oh, okay. I wasn't even upset. I was like, I'm so glad you're here. Like, oh, thank goodness. It's like, this is awesome. And I was like, okay. And they literally were like, okay, you got to calm down, because I'm people that know me. I am like this. This is normal Nate, and I am like this on both sides. They're just like, okay, we're gonna finish. You just got to let us do our thing here. We're gonna fix your brain. And had you had an MRI hooked up to my head, you would have seen look at an MRI of somebody who's hooked on heroin, and then just all of a sudden, just have their brain kind of reshift, as like putting Legos back together. And I could like physically feel it happening. It was like, and everything kind of came back. And I was thinking a lot like I did, like when I was a 12-year-old, like, 12 to 15 years old, before I really started on any drugs or alcohol. My brain just kind of came back to that. I could tell I was just like, I had a healthy brain again. And it was like a process, though. It took a minute or so. I don't know how long it took, but they were definitely, it just happened. And I know how that sounds. Okay. I know how that would sound to me. So I knew him forever. And I was wide awake. It was in the middle of the day. I had only other thing I can see is near-death experiences have this, maybe when they're operating table and they have a similar experience. Mine was just in the middle of the day. I don't think I'm special. I just think that I was in such a dark hole that when it connected, they were there, they fixed me, and maybe this is one of the purposes I'm still here. I don't know. When they were behind me, I could see them, but it's in a different way than just your eyes. It's more like, I've heard people describe it as like when they, you can almost see and taste and feel at the same time. It's like you're really connected with with everything that's going on, with the light of truth. And so, yeah, I mean, I could see him, but not like as in a way that you would see like with your eyes, where I'm like, hey, like I'm looking at the camera right now, and I'm like, oh, there's a little red light, and I'm looking at it. It's more like if I'm looking at the camera and I can see Wes here, and I just see him here, but I know he's right there, and it's wild. But at the same time, then when I turn around, and so I'm sitting there, and they kind of finish what they're doing, and I'm kneeling on the road, and so to my right, I'm just like kind of sitting there, and I can kind of see, just like I can see in my peripheral vision in this room, and I didn't want to disrupt anything. I knew it wasn't a big deal. I was like, I'm just home. Like, this isn't any big deal. And I was like, I need to get back to, living my life here in a second. I know they're fixing me. And so I wasn't planning on, some people say, oh, I want to stay in heaven. I'm like, well, I wasn't I knew that wasn't even, I was just like, I'm going to finish life. This life is awesome. I was like, oh, it's kind of weird because thinking about the suicide attempt, this is going to sound different. But I actually looked at that trauma as a gift. It was like, no matter what bad thing I'd self-induced or anything I'd done to myself or any bad thing that happened to me as a child, just being able to have the experience of it and the empathy the love and the empathy I have for anybody else that had been through it was a gift. It wasn't like all that trauma when you go back home is like, I now understand. And, my dad suffered cancer and got really just chemo, radiation, and just couldn't even sleep. And he couldn't breathe one night, and he just told me, he's told me this before, but he saw people in the room. He said there was about 6 of them there, and then I started breathing again. But I knew they were there in the room. I knew they were right there, and I knew there were people I'd known. And I said, I'll bet you it was people who have been in that situation. They most empathize with what you're going through, and they're there for us on the other side, like constantly. So what did I see? I saw something to my right, and just somebody over there talking. And they were talking to some other people, and everybody was really busy. There's somebody else that talks about how busy it is there, and it was really busy. Like, it felt like I was Earth is like a rock concert, okay? Like I love rock and roll. Like if I could be a rock star on stage, like just jamming a guitar or singing like Garth Brooks back in the day in his best concert where he's just out on the stage. He's like, yes, people, this is awesome. And you're part of that production, and all these people are part of what's happening on Earth, and it's a really big deal. And it's exciting. So no matter how hard you're working, you're like, this is so fun. Like, this is awesome. You just would keep going because you have all this energy because it's such an amazing thing you're a part of. And I really sense that. So when this other person come over, which I would call like, just like a brother, like they're like brothers, like warrior brothers. Like somebody said the word warrior when they saw that. They're like warriors. I'm like, they were so awesome. And an interesting thing is I definitely looked up to these guys, and I was like, you guys are like my most awesome older brother, my most awesome uncle I ever met. That's so cool. And I'm so glad you're here. Like some guy that could just save the day. And they were there, and I had that feeling that I realized that it's how you had a real experience. If you're in that situation, there's equality there. There's hierarchy, but there's definitely equality in hierarchy, because even though they were more experienced than me and kind of helping me through this process, going, okay, we're going to take care of this. And I was like, heroes are here. I didn't feel any less. I felt very equal. So equality and hierarchy. Like if you're taking notes, write that down. Equality and hierarchy at home. It's not it's home. And I had the overwhelming feeling that we're all going to be okay. And that goes back to a dear friend of mine's daughter, who's a beautiful person. She her battle to cancer, but she had it so bad. They told a story at her funeral. They were having a Sunday dinner Sunday lesson, and they were sitting there with the other kids, and they'd brought her home. She's 13 years old, and she was in the living room with her hospital bed, and they had this beautiful lesson, and she couldn't even really ask for water. She was that bad where she's like, couldn't ask for water. And, as far as what they were saying at the funeral, she really hadn't talked much other than the grunts and couldn't communicate very well. And they said, does anybody else have anything else they want to add to the lesson? Let's imagine this beautiful family sitting around just talking, having a little Sunday lesson. And I'll use her first name. Her name's River, and because I don't think her dad would care. So he says to her, he's like, imagine you're a 13-year-old kid. If you have a 13-year-old, I do. And he says, all of a sudden River speaks up and says, I have something to say. And they're like, oh, okay. She's been struggling to even ask for water. What do you have to say? And she says, I have 3 things to say. She says, the spirit world is real. It's okay to be sad and melancholy. And we're all going to be okay. And as soon as I heard that at the funeral, I knew, especially by the last one, that she'd already seen it. She'd already been home. And she was given a gift to come back and just deliver that message to her because it was the last thing she said. She died the next day.
Wow. How about that? So prioritize your life. If you want to see the rest of that, it's 50 minutes long. Atheist addict sees eternity and is healed instantly. I think I have another one here. Pronounced dead for 20 minutes, what he saw and how it changed his life forever on Prioritize Your Life. This one's got almost 13 million views. That's crazy. Prioritize Your Life has 96,000 subscribers. So this one went way viral. And not all of the videos over there do. I went and checked the channel, and it's not like that. So, this one right here hit a spot for a lot of people. Let's check some of this one out.
And of course, my wife, no one knows about what happened. In my mind, it is very vivid every day. I was up on the ski slopes in Park City and having a great time. We were skiing all day, and I was in the lift line, and all of a sudden, a lady came down, and she had her poles going every which way, and ran into us in the ski line. And, well, needless to say, I skied the rest of the day. When we got through, I took my glove off and down at the car, and my thumb was hanging straight down, and it knocked my thumb completely out of the socket, and I knew I had to have something done. It started to hurt once I got into that warm vehicle.
You skied the whole day with your thumb hanging around?
Yes. Yep. I knew I had to get something done, so we scheduled surgery and got prepped. And what I remember most vividly was sitting in the operating room, and the doctor put a sheet between me and my right hand, and my right thumb was tore down, and there was a nurse in there, and the nurse in there made mention to the doctor that she'd never done a tourniquet before and didn't know quite how to change the valves, and the doctor said that he'd talk her through it. Well, in a situation that you put a tourniquet on right here, and you have 2 valves. One is to tighten it up, one's to loosen the pressure. And what happened was both of them were tightened to begin with, and the nurse undid the one valve, and the pressure started coming back on again. And she opened the second valve and forgot to close the first valve. And all of a sudden I had the sensation of something going up my arm. It crossed into my heart, and next thing I knew, I was above my body watching the operation. What was unique about it was I wasn't by myself. I had someone right beside me watching. And I don't know if this is normal or not, but I watched